Hello learners! Today we will study the reproduction in organisms, which is the first chapter of your 12th class biology. It is the basis of the chapters that you are going to study further in your class 12th and is simple to understand as well. There are two types of organisms, namely unicellular and multicellular. Unicellular organisms are single-celled organisms that do not die but just divide. There is nothing called natural death in their case, as they just divide into two and furthermore. But multicellular organisms have a proper lifespan. Lifespan is defined as a period from birth to natural death. Here are some organisms and their lifespans. We can see the range of lifespan varies greatly, such as 140 years in case of a parrot to 2000 years as in case of a peepal tree. In the first chapter of your class 11th biology, we studied that reproduction is a fundamental feature that most living organisms show, but it is not necessary that every organism alive will show reproduction. So most of the organisms reproduce, but it is not the defining feature of the living. There are two types of reproduction in organisms. One of them is asexual reproduction and the other is sexual reproduction. Let us differentiate between the two. The asexual reproduction is fast, but sexual reproduction is a slow process. Asexual reproduction is an easy and simple process, but on the other hand, sexual reproduction is complex and elaborate. In asexual reproduction, clones are formed, means extremely similar exact copies of two beings are formed. But in sexual reproduction, there is no clone formation, as all the individuals are different. In asexual reproduction, there is no genetic variability available, but on the other hand, in sexual reproduction, genetic variability is found. Now let's study the asexual reproduction and its types. Binary fission. It is a simple process in which cell divides and forms two individuals. An example is amoeba. Now, there are three types of binary fission as well. These are simple, longitudinal, and transverse. The example of a simple binary fission is amoeba. For longitudinal fission we have euglena, and the examples of transverse binary fission include diatoms and paramecium. Next, we have budding. This is observed mainly in hydra and yeast. In the structure of hydra, there is a bud which detaches itself from the main stem and forms a new individual. The prominent difference between binary fission and budding is that in binary fission, the parental identity is lost. That is, there is no difference between the parent and a daughter cell. Also, in binary fission, the cytoplasm divides equally, whereas in budding, parental identity is not lost because there is an unequal division of cytoplasm. Fragmentation. It occurs by breaking of the parent body into two or more parts, each of which is capable of growing and living independently. For example, algae like Spirogera and bryophytes such as Merchantia and Richia. Regeneration. Now in this type of asexual reproduction, the organism breaks into parts, but each part is not completely sufficient to live as a new individual. Thus, first the missing part of the organism is repaired by the proliferation of the cells and then it lives off independently. For example, hydra, planaria, and sponges. Spore formation or sporulation. Members of the kingdom fungi and simple plants such as algae reproduce by spore formation. In this, special asexual reproductive structures are formed in these organisms. Now, there are many types of spores as well, so let's study them further. Zoospores. These spores are made inside the cavity because of which they are known as endogenous motile spores. They are biflagellated spores and are mostly found in algae and fungi. Sporangiospores. Found in fungi, they are also formed inside the cavity, so they are also endogenous. They are non-motile because they lack flagella. Conidia. These are the most important type of spores and are also found in fungi. The stalk of their structure is known as conidiophore and the extensions are known as pterygmata. Above this are formed conidia, which are young at base and mature at the tip. Hence, it has a basipetal arrangement. These lack flagella and are also non-motile. They are exogenous in origin because conidia are formed outside the cavity. Next, we have gemule formation. This is mainly found in sponges, which produce a tough-coated dormant cluster of embryonic cells for development in the more favorable conditions. Vegetative reproduction. In this type of reproduction, a new part is not formed. Rather, old parts of the plant are used to grow a new individual. It is of two types, natural and artificial. Natural vegetative reproduction is also known as vegetative propagation. It can occur by a reproductive root, such as in dahlia and sweet potato, a leaf in case of bryophyllum and kalanchoe, or a stem, which can have underground stem modifications such as a tuber in potato, a corm in colocasia, a bulb in case of onion, garlic, or lily, a rhizome in case of ginger, lotus, turmeric, and banana. Or we can have subaerial modifications in stem, such as runner in oxalis and grasses, offsets in eichhornia and pistia, a stolon in mint and jasmine, a sucker in pineapple, chrysanthemum, banana, and mint, or a bulbil, which is a fleshy bud, such as in agave. Artificial vegetative reproduction. This is a type of plant reproduction that involves human intervention. The most common types of artificial vegetative reproductive techniques include cutting, layering, grafting, suckering, and tissue culturing. These methods are employed by many farmers and horticulturists to produce healthier crops with more desirable qualities. Cutting. A part of a plant, typically a leaf or a stem, is cut off and planted. Adventitious roots develop from the cuttings and a new plant forms. Cuttings are sometimes treated with hormones before being planted to induce root development. Grafting. Grafting is a process in which two types of plants merge together to form a single individual. From one plant, we take a shoot system, and from the other, we take a root system. The tissue systems of the cutting become grafted into or integrated with the tissue systems of the plant base over time. Since the cambial tissue is really important for grafting, the monocots cannot undergo grafting. Only dicots can undergo grafting. In grafting, the shoot part is known as scion and the bottom part is known as stalk. Layering. This method involves bending plant branches or stems so that they can touch the ground. The portions of branches or stems in contact with the ground are then covered with soil. Adventitious roots or roots that extend from the structures other than plant roots develop in the parts covered by the soil. Micropropagation. Also known as plant tissue culture, this is a method of propagating a large number of plants from a single plant in a short time under laboratory conditions. This method allows propagation of rare and endangered species that may be difficult to grow under natural conditions and are economically important or are in demand as disease-free plants. Also, we have a medium known as the nutrient medium, which has all the nutrition that is required for the plant. It consists of sugars, amino acids, vitamins, and salts. Sometimes agar-agar is added as the pH needs to be balanced around 5.6. Also, plant growth regulators are added such as auxin and cytokinin. The advantages of asexual reproduction are formation of clones. The clone formation is an advantage as well as a disadvantage for the reproduction because we can get a very good trait in the colony that divides and divides to get a lot of individuals. But it can turn to be a disadvantage as if a diseased plant is formed, then a mutant of the disease is also formed such that the colony will go on to its doom. Asexual reproduction has a higher rate of reproduction and is very fast in comparison to sexual reproduction. You can get detailed notes on this chapter as well as practice NCERT and previous year questions along with their solutions. You also get mind maps and many more at the EduRev mobile app and website to learn better and score more.